Let's take a look at comparing data in ChatGPT. We're going to hop right into it, and we're going to be looking at a couple of ways you can utilize charts in order to compare data and actually create those charts and get an analysis of it in ChatGPT. So if you remember from the previous module, charts for comparing data that I like using to keep it the most simple as possible and to get your good comparison and get out are column charts and bar charts. Now there are more charts you can utilize in order to compare your data in general and in ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT, what are 10 charts I could use for comparing data, and it will give you a good list of those charts you can utilize. But these are the ones I'm going to stick to today because they're in the confines of my understanding. And also, I believe it's just the simplest and best way to view your data when comparing it is by utilizing these two charts. So when utilizing these two charts, you can see how things measure up against each other, and it's just an overall great way to get it done. So we have column charts and bar charts. But first, let's understand the elements of each chart. That way you know how to compare your data when using them. If we look at something like a column chart, just like any other chart, it has a y-axis and an x-axis. The x-axis is this line down here on the bottom moving left and right, and the y-axis is going to the sky. Y to the sky, x to the left, or the right in this case. So what we have here is we have this column chart. We can start to dissect this chart by understanding what elements go on which axis in a column chart. So from what I've learned in column charts, the subjects in need of comparing go on the bottom. And then the comparing factor goes on the y-axis. So we have all of these subjects in need of comparing, which in this case is data-related jobs. We have a data architect, a data scientist, data engineer, data analyst, and we also have a machine learning engineer. And we're comparing them based on the average salary amongst those jobs. So the comparing factor would be the salary, and the subjects in need of comparing would be data-related jobs. It's a good way you can organize your column charts. What needs compared and what factor are we comparing it on? And don't get confused with column charts and bar charts and which one does a certain thing, because these charts, in my opinion, do both the same things. It's just a different way of viewing your data. So when we look at this, which is a bar chart, not a column chart, I forgot to change that title in the slideshow, it's the exact same thing, except the subjects in need of comparing here are over on the left, and on your x-axis is the comparing factor. This is a fun way to view your data to me because it looks more of like a race rather than like a normal bar chart. You can kind of see which categories are pulling ahead in the race, which one's in front. And I like viewing them in bar charts because they're also a little bit less common than the column chart and the everyday column chart that we see. Now you could also refer to this column chart as a bar graph, I'm pretty sure, but I like to refer to this one as column and this one as bar. And when you're generating this bar chart in ChatGPT, make sure you specify horizontal bar chart. That way it doesn't get confused and create you a column chart. Now that we know how these charts work and where the comparing factors go and also the subjects in need of comparing for each graph, let's go into ChatGPT, create a prompt, and generate it live. Now I actually lied to you. I don't think we should go to ChatGPT first, but rather the data that we're going to compare, just so you can see the size of this thing that we're importing into ChatGPT and how it can perform multiple actions at once. So we have this huge data set here. I guess it's not huge in relation to some of the data sets, but we have this load of data here. And what it's doing is it's comparing work year, job title, job category, salary currency, salary, and it goes on. Residency, experience level, employment type, work setting and company location, and also the size of the company. And what it's doing is it's comparing the salary of certain job titles, and it also has a lot of other factors in here, such as experience level and work setting and company location. But when you scroll down here, this data set is almost 10,000 rows long. So it's comparing a massive amount of job titles and data. And what I want to do for this column chart is I want to go to the job title. I want ChatGPT to look through these job titles. I'm going to give it 5 job titles to look through. And from each of those job titles, I want it to find the average salary. So if I want it to find the data architect salary, the average, what it's going to do is it's going to look through each one of these data architects, keep going down the list, find the salary in USD, average it out, and then put it in the chart. That's what I want, and I want to compare 5 of these job titles. So what I'm doing here is I'm hitting File, Download, and I'm downloading this as a comma-separated values file, a CSV file. Now we can go into ChatGPT after we have it downloaded and get that graph generated into a nice column chart comparing all this data. We can choose the colors we want. We can start the y-axis at whatever number we want. and we can choose whatever job titles we want as well. So once in ChatGPT, I'm going to make sure that I'm on the GPT-4 model, and I'm also going to make sure that within Customized ChatGPT, I have on the code interpreter. That way it can actually analyze this data for us. So once those things are done, then we can actually upload our data set. And what we need to do is we need to hit the link icon in the bottom left-hand corner of the prompt bar, just as I was showing you within the data analysis, the advanced data analysis set. We're going to be going over some of the things you've probably already heard, but it's important to reiterate them. That way you have a full understanding and it's ingrained in your brain on how to use this advanced data analysis feature. So I'm going to hit that link icon. And I have a ton of different data sets here, but I'm going to find the jobs in data science data set that I was just showing you on that Google Sheet. I'm going to hit open, and then about 2 seconds it uploaded into ChatGPT, those 10,000 rows in this CSV file. And now I can ask it questions about the data. And we can take in the information that we learned from the previous modules on data analysis, and we can implement it here. A good step is to clean your data first when analyzing it, but I know this data is pretty clean since I've used it in the past. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in my prompt here for creating this column chart. As you can see, I finished out the prompt. So I want a column chart. I'm going to say, create a column chart comparing these 5 job titles. I'm getting right into it. Data architect, data scientist, data engineer, data analyst, and machine learning engineer. So if you remember that Google Sheet that I showed you earlier, these are all job titles that I want compared. We have the data architect, the scientist, and the data engineer, the machine learning engineer, and the data analyst. We're going to be comparing all of those within this column chart. So that's what I have. I have my comparing factors down here, just like I have subjects in need of comparing in the columns chart right here. I don't just want the top salary from each job position, but I want the average salary over all the job positions and all the data gained for each job position. So I want the average salary in USD for the data architect, the data scientist, the data engineer, data analyst, and machine learning engineer. ChatGPT can do that. It can gain averages over a bunch of categories, which is amazing. So I say I want you to compare the average salary in USD amongst these job titles. Start the y-axis at $0, so I'm being specific that I want my y-axis starting at 0. That's always a good practice to get into for your column charts, is starting your y-axis at 0 and going up to that top number. So I always like to say, if I'm comparing something to a number or a dollar amount, to start it at 0. That way I can see the full growth and the full column, and it doesn't get confused and start at the lowest number or something, because in my opinion, that's just not a clean way to create that column chart. So that's what I recommend, but you can do what you want. And after I say start the y-axis at 0, I give it some more instructions. I say also abbreviate the job titles in the x-axis. And then I give it what I want to abbreviate the job titles to. That way the graph is a little bit more condensed. I've noticed that sometimes if I were to leave all of these the same and not break them down into abbreviations, they would get cut off, they would overlap on one another, and it just doesn't look that smooth or clean in ChatGPT. And then I give one last command. I say keep the columns the same color. I think that's a good practice for a column chart when comparing your data across one factor. Now, if you're doing something like a dual axis line graph, which we will get into in the future, then it is good to have your line be a different color than your columns. But in my opinion, keeping columns the same color on a column chart has been a good practice. So now we can send this off and we can watch ChatGPT go to work and generate this graph in seconds. And while this is going and while this is generating, I just wanted you to keep in mind that I'm showing you all of this, how I'm abbreviating everything, how I'm giving certain commands like keeping the columns the same color, starting the y-axis at 0. So you have these foundational techniques when generating graphs and charts in ChatGPT the way that you need them generated. You don't have to do all this stuff, but you can take in some of it, put it in your own prompts, and it's just meant to give you a bunch of ideas to build up your understanding of how to generate good charts for comparing data in ChatGPT. And not just comparing data, but the other 4 ways to view your data as well. So as you can see, ChatGPT has created this chart. Now I can revise it, I can look over it, I can see if it's exactly what I wanted. I can kind of just compare these categories in a very simple manner. Maybe you want the columns pink. Well, I can say, make the columns pink. So it seems ChatGPT had an actual error when trying to change these columns to pink, which happens from time to time when using this code interpreter feature, but that's no problem because I'm going to show you how to export these charts and actually edit them in a different free app That way you can make it exactly how you want. You can clean it up a little bit, but that will be for future modules. Let's get into something more important rather than changing the color, which is generating another chart in order to visualize the data. So what we're going to do is we're going to now generate the bar chart. The bar chart, which I need to change the name of this, the bar chart here is the same thing as the column chart, except we're flipping our X and Y axis. So the subjects in need of comparing are now going in the Y axis, and the comparing factor is now going in the X axis. So we can do this. We can utilize that same exact prompt that I utilized for the column chart and just change around a few factors. So let me go up here. I'm going to actually edit this prompt. If you want to edit it to get a different response and you want to keep the same prompt, and you also want to keep both responses, this is a good way to go about it. You can hit that little pencil icon, and then you can edit this whole prompt here, hit save and submit, and it will generate a new response, and you'll be able to slide through each of those responses. So this prompt is a beautiful template for generating column charts and bar charts. I can change out a few words, so create a bar chart comparing these 5 job titles. I want to keep everything the same. I want you to compare the average salary in USD amongst these job titles. But what I need to do is change the axes around. So instead of start the y-axis at 0 USD, I want to start the x-axis at 0 USD. And then instead of abbreviating the job titles in the x-axis, I want it to do that in the y-axis. And then instead of columns the same color, keep the bars the same color. And just to be more specific, I'll tell it to create a horizontal bar chart comparing these 5 job titles. I'll hit save and submit, and then we can watch ChatGPT go to work. I love when ChatGPT starts analyzing the data because it talks itself through the steps that it's doing. You can also open up these little code things and see what's going on if you want to, how they're using Python to generate these charts. But what it does is it lists out everything we need here before actually generating the chart. So it lists out the average salaries, and then it goes into doing the chart. It goes the extra mile. Tells us if we need any further adjustments or additional data visualizations, feel free to ask. Feels very friendly, but there you have it. We have our next chart generated, which is the horizontal bar chart, just by changing a few things in the prompt, changing the axes around, and yeah, it turned out looking great. So this has been 2 charts that you can utilize in order to compare your data in ChatGPT. It's a great way to view your data if you want to compare something very simple. In the coming modules, we're going to learn even more charts you can utilize. And like I said, there are plenty of more charts you can use for comparing data. If you want to see what those charts are, I highly recommend you go in ChatGPT and ask it, what are 10 or 20 good charts I can use for comparing data? How do I generate them? What do they mean? And dig deep into the explanation of certain charts and how you can utilize them for your use cases. That's all I have for this module. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a lot when it comes to comparing data in ChatGPT and how you can utilize charts in order to get that visual diagram of that data being compared. I'll see you in the next module.